Hello again, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for tuning into the COVID-19 lockdown account. Now, today I've got Ayla with me. Ayla is a practicing yogi and a student studying social sciences and living over in New Zealand. So, Ayla, how are we doing today?
Hey, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Yesterday I had quite a busy one. Was training a lot of people, managed to get a couple of interviews in as well. So yeah, going well, going well. So what's the kind of feeling overseas at the moment, over in New Zealand?
In New Zealand, well, we're basically out of lockdown. I'm sorry, this is like not something that you guys might want to hear, but yeah, we're basically out of lockdown. We can get into large groups, our restaurants, cafes, these kind of third home type places are all running. Many businesses have closed down. So the
Okay.
place that I was working, the local publication that closed down. So yeah, quite a lot of impact with local businesses, but essentially everything's running back to normal. So yeah, it feels pretty good.
Yeah. How long were you guys in lockdown for?
So we were in lockdown for, I think it was about 4 weeks,
Wow.
maybe a bit more than that. Um, and everyone, honestly, largely just followed the rules.
Mm.
I don't know if it's just that there's less people or what, but everyone just pretty much did as they were told. And there was a few rule breakers or whatever, but largely everyone was just keeping to the rules to make sure that, this didn't spread. And I think overall, there was quite a handful of people that actually caught it. And no one, like a few people did pass away from it, but overall it was contained as well as it could be contained. And yeah, I think it was just down to Jacinta's like really decisive and kind of quick like actions. Like she didn't procrastinate. She wasn't like, human life or economy, human life or economy. She just was like, okay, human life is important, so I'm not going to think for a second about delaying this. And she enforced the lockdown pretty much straight away.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel really lucky to be here, to be quite honest. Really lucky.
I think as well, just a lot of businesses, if they've gone under in 1 month, especially because I'm not sure what help you guys got from the government in the ways of like furlough scheme, or whether there was bounce back loans, or even help for businesses whilst they're closed. But a lot of people are saying at the moment businesses are kind of getting fast tracked to the destination they were going anyway. If places were shutting down because they had to close for 1 month, then were they gonna survive the long term anyway, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of like business the way, like, not many business have like a huge reserve,
Mm.
like cash influx, like so that they can just cease to exist for a few months and then just bounce back. I think that's kind of unrealistic because there's all these overheads, and then without that money coming in, like it will be difficult. But I mean, there's plenty businesses that I'm sure without this would have carried on. Yeah, maybe they're kind of going at the skin of their teeth kind of thing, but each to their own. It's still something that has had a big effect because if I look at the example of where I was working, I was working for a publication that basically relied on marketing funds. So relied on businesses marketing inside the publication. So as soon as all of these businesses were obviously suffering, they couldn't afford to advertise. Where were we going to get the money from to keep it going? But I mean, the government did give us like wage subsidies. So every employer got like X amount, every week. But even with that, like a lot of these businesses had to close. So it wasn't just the wages, it was just like literally a lack of any money coming in. And I really felt for my boss. My boss was put in a position where she like had to like close it down, and then obviously had to say to us, well, I don't know when we're going to open up again. And so she was upset. I was gutted for her because it's her business, it's her livelihood. Like, I can go somewhere else and get another job or do my own thing or whatever. And I really felt for her. And watching all these businesses crumble, you know, like yoga studios that I go to and all these different businesses like crumbling, it just really, it was really heartbreaking actually seeing that. I felt more bad for everything that was going on around me that actually was happening to me, despite like losing my job, and my husband, like his wages went down by 20%, and then we were like, oh shit, now we're gonna move into our new house, and we're in a totally different financial position than we were obviously just a couple of days before that. So it was a big shock to the system, but we still felt like we were okay. Like, we'd been, you know, really, we were kind of sorted in a way, like we'd been really clever for the past like couple of years, but at the same time, you know, really lucky, I feel, to be in the situation that we were, where I could lose my job and still we weren't in full panic mode. So yeah,
That's good.
it's kind of
Saving for the future, so especially always having that reserve, as you guys did, having some form of reserve fund and being a little bit smarter with your income and stuff. That's obviously helped you guys and paid dividends in the long run.
Yeah, I mean, we've not always been like that, but that's why I say we were lucky as well, because, you know, like if this had happened a couple of years back, we would have been screwed. But, you know, it happened and we were like, oh God, we did the right thing. Also think because we had the house coming up and we wanted to make sure we had money to buy furniture and to invest into the house and stuff like that. And obviously, like, we've got cardboard boxes for a coffee table right now. Like, I'm like, I don't care, you know, we've got a house, we're fine, like, we've got food on our plates, like, but yeah, we've got the mattress on the floor, like teenagers, like at uni, sort of that kind of life happening right now. But, you know, could be worse.
Exactly, it could be worse. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with that at all. There's nothing wrong with that. So, I mean, out and about, what's the kind of public vibe now? I mean, people can go out. Does that mean people are going out?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not as like busy, but people are just like loving being out. And even just like the first time we were told that we can start kind of mixing with people again, like, we invited our friends round for dinner, and it was just like so weird to like see people like face to face, to hug them and like have stupid conversation and just like drink wine with them and have them in the house. Like, it was so nice. Like, honestly, like, that first day doing that was just amazing. And then we kind of did that for like the next 4 or 5 days. Then we're like, oh my God, we just been through so much wine, so much alcohol. We've just got this bucket just full of like booze that we're like, need to recycle. But yeah, we've, you know, really enjoyed it. And I feel like it's been a kind of like real nice, like humble reminder, like how like special it is to really see people face to face. And, you know, it's a completely different ball game to like obviously like a video call or you know, over the phone. But, you know, it's important to have that connection as well. And yeah, I've been absolutely loving it. I'm trying not to just seem too like, I'm having the time of my life, you know.
Yeah.
Because I know that it's obviously taken a long time in the UK, but honestly, when it happens, when everything goes back to normal, which it will, it's going to be amazing. It's going to feel so good.
Oh, yeah. You know, I cannot wait. I think we're probably going to have quite a big barbecue back at my place. Invite just everyone, you know, and just maybe even have a party at the gym as well, which would be amazing. I suppose
definitely.
Are fitness facilities open yet?
Yep, gyms are open, but many gyms, like smaller gyms and yoga studios and stuff, have unfortunately stopped for business. But I don't know, there might be more coming into its place. But yeah, they're open, they're allowed to reopen. So it's just a case of who can at the minute, I guess.
And I suppose they must have had to have made, especially with like your yoga studios, I'm assuming that they've limited numbers or something, or have they?
Yeah, like, I mean, the one that I was going to, they're no longer around, but I mean, many of them are going online. And yeah, they're limited numbers. They've got lots of, like, I went and got my eyebrows done for the first time in like 2 months. So I was like, walked in like that, you know, and the lady had her mask on, and she, you know, everyone kind of had to, I guess, have the whole social distancing, like, regulations in force. And overall, it was, yeah, it was just like normal, except like everyone's just like super OCD, you know.
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
don't know how long that's going to carry on for, but I kind of like, I think it's kind of nice to keep that going, you know, for the next couple of months at least, just to, you know that we're not forgetting it that quickly, because it can easily come back. So
I think it's going to be a case of it will still be there, but they're just going to be able to deal with it better and cope with it better in the hospitals if they slowly allow us back, and they control what they said was that curve, right? But yeah, like
yeah.
I think this thing's going to be around for quite a long time, but they'll be able to deal with it.
Yeah, like there's some people I was speaking to the other day talking about like a second wave, and
Yeah,
I was like, oh, please don't, please don't even speak about that. Like, the thought of there being a second wave, like, you know, these businesses have already gone through enough. Like, I don't know what could possibly, um, I can't even think about it. It's a
yeah.
horrible thought. Yeah.
Well, economically, it would be catastrophic, and I think for people's mindset, you know, to be able to come out of this, to go back to seeing people, to really appreciate the smaller things before, which are now such big things, when you realize what's important, and then to have that taken away, I think people mentally will struggle a lot if there is a second wave.
Yeah, you've hit the nail on the head. Like, it's just the thought of not only for the business as well, but people like really struggling mentally with that. You know, the first few weeks, I feel like it was like, okay, we got this. Like, you know, how hard can it be? Stay at home. And then it was like, actually, this is tough, because we're social beings. Like, we need to be out. We need to be socializing. Like, this isn't just like something that, you know, we do. It's something that we need.
yeah,
And I think that, like, particularly like with the cafes and the restaurants and bars closing, I remember like seeing something that someone wrote on social media saying like, oh, well, these aren't essential. And I remember thinking, oh my God, they so are essential. Like, I love going to a bar and meeting my friends. Like, I love going out and going to restaurants that I know are like local family businesses that I feel that I'm supporting, but I'm also getting an awesome meal. Like, I love these places. That's all a way of us identifying, you know, expressing ourselves, like creating communities, like it gives us so much more than it takes away. Like, it really does. And, you know, people say, oh, consumerism, but that's literally what keeps the world going round, you know. Like, consumerism is, you know, you can look at it as a negative thing, but, you know, to me it's a real positive thing, because it's a point where we can actually congregate and just, like, you know, create communities. And yeah, that's where people connect. So I think, yeah, it's really important, like, so important.
yeah. I think we definitely need to support as local as we can, and I totally get, you know, it's natural human instinct to be able to get the best deal, or, you know, not always shop local because people can't afford to, right? But we have a little thing locally where we try and get as many people once a month just to spend £5 English. So it would probably be the equivalent of, like, I don't know, $10 to you guys, just locally, like within a mile radius or 2 mile radius of your house, and make
Yeah.
sure you're spending that in a local owned business. And it's
Yeah.
generated so much revenue locally that if you know, if we can make that spread,
Yeah.
that'll do economically for the, especially in the UK and obviously for New Zealand as well.
Hmm.
You wouldn't be able to, you wouldn't be able to compare that to any other kind of incentive.
Totally. And I think, well, with what you're saying, like Jacinta's actually suggesting giving everyone 1,500 each so that they can spend it, wisely, spend it with local businesses and just try and kind of boost the economy that way as well. I mean, they've done loads of different stuff. I guess there's no right or wrong. Like, this is not hardly something that happens every day. So they're just trying to deal with it the best they can.
That's a superb.
And I think it's a good idea. Yeah.
Yeah, giving everyone 1,500 quid and going, right, spend locally. I mean, everyone's going to go to the local pub, aren't they? Go to the local bar.
Yeah. That's what we're going to do with we're just going to go, like, I mean, there's even like on a Friday night, like the last sort of few Friday nights have been like, oh, Charles, like, because after work, he'll go and do his like Friday drinks and stuff. And the last few times, like this is before the pandemic, he was like, come in here and then we'd do something and stuff like that. And then this Friday he was like, oh, I'm thinking Friday drinks. And I was like, do it, like do your Friday drink. I'm going to do Friday drinks as well, like, which I usually wouldn't even do it on a Friday. It would maybe be on a Saturday or whatever. And I'm like, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. This is, it just needs to be done. We need to get out there. I'm just like, I feel like a new lease of life getting out of this lockdown, honestly. It's like coming out of rehab or something.
Yeah.
I've been doing so much self-work and then I've like come out and I'm just like, let me at these bars, It's just, it's been something that we'll probably never experience again in our lifetime.
I hope so. So tell me about, you said there that you've been, working on yourself quite a bit. Talk to me about what kind of things and what kind of practices you went into during your lockdown.
Yeah. Well, I'm a trained yoga teacher, so I've been doing yoga, but mostly the thing that I've been really focusing on is my meditation. So I've been doing daily meditation, which is something I don't usually do daily. I maybe do it like once a week or once a fortnight when I'm like, more kind of a reactive instead of a proactive thing. Whereas I guess during this, like I've been trying to do it kind of every day. And it's just like that first week of this pandemic, over here for us, like the first week of the lockdown, I know that it was kind of everywhere already in the world, but that first week when we sort of realized the seriousness of everything, I was actually quite freaking out, like quite a bit. Like I was saying earlier, like thinking of people's businesses, like that was stressing me out. Like, oh my God, what's going to happen to, like, there's Courtney Place here. If you've been to Wellington, like all the streets, all the restaurants and bars, what's going to happen to them? Are they just going to like cease to exist by the end of this? Like I was freaking out, but also like about my family in Italy. Like I've got family in Italy that I was stressing about, because everything was unfolding daily. My family in Turkey, obviously, family and friends in the UK. So I was so stressed that first week, reading so much stuff about what was going on, reading about the Spanish flu, which, by the way, you shouldn't do when you're in the middle of a pandemic because, oh my God, the stats on that is crazy. So I was just like, oh my God, this is what's going to happen. It's going to be worse. And it really stressed me out. So I could feel myself kind of like, being really reactive and not being very logical. So I started from there. And yeah, like doing my meditation, you get like more, like the best way I can sort of describe it is you get like cognitive kind of flexibility, and you're able to take a step back, you're able to regulate your emotions, and you're actually able to make more rational decisions. The people that were running off and just like grabbing toilet roll, and running for the hills were like not exactly doing that in a rational way. They were like reacting to that fear, and they were reacting to the stress. So although we were kind of like, this is quite funny, it was actually quite sad as well. Like they were so scared, they were just acting crazy. And we kind of do that in like micro versions, like daily, when we aren't being able to kind of, I guess, regulate our emotions. And yeah, I was kind of aware of that in certain ways and certain things that I was doing during the day. And I was just like, okay, I need to rein this in. Otherwise I'm going to lose my shit here.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then I carried it on pretty much. And it feels good. It feels really good because I haven't had this time to do as much as this. Like I've taken myself away and done lots of different like retreats and stuff. Like I went away, there's a place just outside of Auckland, and you do what's called a Vipassana, which is like 10 days silent meditation. And that was like really amazing. And I hadn't done anything like that before because I'd done things lasting like 2-3 weeks like of yoga and meditation, but nothing that was like so intense that you couldn't talk. So this was kind of intense in the fact that it was just like I made sure I did it daily and it was that duration. So even when I was like, I don't actually feel like doing this, I was just like pushing myself to do it. So I think that's why I got so much out of it as well. So yeah, that's pretty much what I've been doing mostly. Oh, and learning Italian. I've been learning Italian on Duolingo.
Wow.
Just
That's pretty
epic. I love Italian, so just doing that, yeah, pretty much, and speaking to family and friends, because I think the not knowing what's happening is also another thing that causes, like, I know for myself, when I don't know what's going on, that stresses me out than what's actually going on. So once I've spoke to my parents, okay, they're fine, then I just like relax, and then I don't think about it again for the next day, and then I just call them, and then it's just, you know. So I think once you understand what your triggers are, you can kind of combat that. But that only happens when you're not automated, and that only happens when you actually take the time to understand yourself and what your triggers are.
Yeah.
And that obviously takes a bit of time. So
Yeah.
I'm a bit more used to it because I've got practice and kind of dealing with that, but and I can see it a little bit clearer, whereas before it used to take me quite a while to understand, like, you know, what I was feeling and what was actually triggering me, you know, because sometimes you can get upset about something or angry about something that's going on, but it's actually something maybe completely different, but you're reacting to on the surface to something completely different. So yeah, that's pretty much what I've been doing day to day.
I can definitely, I can resonate with that massively. Especially when you get lost in your own mind, you're focusing on the stuff that's, you know, you could be in a positive environment. Like I could be with my family, with my kids. Everyone's fairly happy, but I'm caught in a cycle, in a trigger cycle where I'm just constantly thinking about it and I'm lost in my own mind. And then the moment like one of the kids will just jump on me or something, because I'm broken out of it so quickly, but I'm still in that negative mind frame, you instinctively react negatively to that. You know, not nastily, but like grumpy, you know, grumpy dad syndrome. But yeah, you know, it's so important just to be able to sit back, be able to let that pass in your mind and then move through it. I like to think of moving around it, moving through it, and it's gone, you know, like you're just pushing it away. And
totally.
Definitely
that's
helps.
a good way. That's the good way of seeing it. And like usually when you're doing that, do you feel like, do you know, like once you've like, if you've like, say you've been grumpy dad, like do you know while you're doing it that you're being grumpy dad, or is it afterwards you're like, oh, I was being grumpy dad?
Yeah, it's definitely, it's something that a bit of both. Like I said, I'm pretty new to meditating. I'm not new to mindfulness, which I think that's probably more of a mindfulness technique with the being present. But the meditation stuff, which I'm terrible at, by the way, but I am trying my hardest, is helping lots to be able to come out and spend the rest of the day focusing on the things I need to focus on. The mindfulness,
it's like brain training. Think of it as brain training. You're a trainer, you know, you're obviously love being strong and stuff like that. Think about it as being literally brain training, like you're training your brain to function in a higher capacity, literally, because day to day, if you're able to regulate your emotions, you can see past all of the shit, and you're able to make not only better decisions day to day, but you can literally peak at anything. Like you can peak even more than you are, you know, and that's literally from doing that. And the best way I can kind of, if I could give you an example. So when I did the Vipassana, like the 10 days of silence and meditation, it was like one of the most torturous but most unreal things that I've ever done in my life. And it was like the third or fourth day. So I was realizing how much I sing and talk to myself, like during this Vipassana. Like I didn't realize I was singing like Miley Cyrus, like 99% of the time. I don't even listen to Miley Cyrus. I have no idea where all of her songs start popping up in my head. And then sometimes I would make jokes and I would just be like, like cracking up at myself. And this is stuff that I never realized on a day-to-day basis. But because I was in a situation where I wasn't distracted, because you were not allowed your phones, you were not allowed anything, right? So you literally just had your thoughts. So then it made me realize how automated I must be with just thinking shite, like literally thinking shit and like singing in my head and not actually even realize I'm doing it until everything else was silent. Like, and that to me really freaked me out. I was like, holy shit, you're a freaking weirdo. Like you're totally talking to yourself all the time. Now you're talking to yourself again. Stop talking to yourself. Oh my God, shut up. Like, so when I got out of that and I was able to then like, so you think about, they teach you to, the minute you start, your mind starts drifting off, which it does. And that's what you have to accept, that it will drift off. That's the whole point. It's getting it back. I was just thinking of as like, you know, rowing, like you're just like going back, you're rowing, you're like pushing, pulling, all that kind of stuff. So I was just thinking of as every time I pulled it back, I was like strengthening my brain. Like that's kind of the best way I can describe it. And the more I did it, see, by the time it was like day 10, I was like able to sit down, get into a meditative state. And it was like something I've never experienced in my life. Like, you're just going to think I'm absolutely mental if I tell you half the shit that happened, but you'll experience it yourself. I have no doubt when you practice it. And it's just like, what? Like, this is what my brain's capable of. Like, why are we not taught this from a young age? Like, why are we not taught this, that we can actually, you know, have really healthy functioning brains and not have to stress? Like, that is possible. But you just think it's not. And that's what's really crazy.
It's brilliant. I mean, it's something that I'm looking forward to being better at. And, you know, this time in lockdown has massively helped me with my practicing of it. And I think, you know, it's going to, well, I've got a lifetime to perfect it, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And it's not going to be perfect. There's going to be times when you sit down and you're just like, it's not going to work. Like your mind is just like, even no matter how many times you bring it back. But it's the persistence, which you've got that mentality anyway. Like you've got persistent, you've got strong character. So if anyone can do that, it's you. So you, like, I've no doubt you're going to have some really like cool, like amazing, really profound experiences, but just need to stick at it. Yeah, definitely.
So moving back to kind of the now, I think it's probably a perfect way to meander on to being in the present. What kind of things are you looking to take from lockdown, or what take homes have you learned that you're going to kind of either appreciate or do moving forward?
I guess moving forward, like I've always been a social person, like always been a social person. But I think this has made me realize like that I'm not just a social person. Like I actually need it. Like it's actually something that is a need, just like, you know, exercise. Like I need to see friends, I need to be around people, and I need that around me. And I think that, I guess I always thought that you didn't really need that. Like that was just a part of your personality. Like you can be introverted and you can like time alone. I don't even believe in that anymore. I've literally gone, well, that's not possible. Like, you know, yes, we crave being on our own and having that sort of silence, but ultimately we need to be around people.
Yeah.
And I also think it's made me appreciate people even more. Like, I wouldn't want to be here if I was on my own. Like I wouldn't want to be on this planet. Imagine, like, if I had a choice between being here and a planet where there's going to be no one else, like,
Yeah.
of course I would choose it here. So it's like, I love other people, like, and I think that, you know, a lot of the times, particularly on social media, like, we see all of this, like, the negative shit that people do, but I think fundamentally people are good. Otherwise this, like, we'd like implode, like there would be too much shit going on. Fundamentally people are good. What you're doing right now by connecting with me from the other side of the world and connecting with all these people is amazing. Like, that's another really awesome thing that, like, someone in lockdown, I've seen someone in lockdown, but like a human in lockdown is doing, and then someone else somewhere else will be doing something,
Yeah.
you know, equally like awesome. So I think it's also really made me appreciate just how much I just love people. Yeah. I guess I mean, I could go on for ages. I can also tell you, in fact, this will be, since I'm saying this, I might as well tell you about this study. So obviously I'm really into my social science, and I've been reading a lot about different studies done. And there was a study you're going to find really fascinating. Oh, sorry, something just came up on my screen. I thought you'd disappeared.
No.
Oh, I just done it again. I don't know why it's doing that. Yeah, there was a study done, and this professor in America, so she's a professor of like neuroscience and psychology, and she basically, the results from the study show that chronic social isolation has the same effects as those who smoke 15 cigarettes a day,
Wow.
like the same heightened health effects as someone who's smoking 15 cigarettes a day. In fact, double as someone who has obesity. So that, to me, and it's so funny because I started researching this because I was so like, you know, it was just, everything was blowing my mind, like, oh my God, like, just community and people, and, you know, it's just, I found it all really fascinating, and just like the way people were acting with each other and, you know, trying to create a community even though they had to social distance. I found it all really fascinating and started looking into the research. And when I seen that, I was like, oh my God, well, that makes sense, you know? And I even, like, my gran, like, she was 99, she ate so much, like, so much. And she was just like one of those people that would just eat like all this bread and just eat just so much. Not, she wouldn't eat crap, but she was just like not one of those people that would eat her fruit and veg, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And wouldn't drink any water. But she had so many friends. She had so many friends coming around to her house, and she always had people knocking on her door. And that made me think of her when I seen that research. I was like, well, that's why she lived to 98 or 99 or even 100. We actually don't know because she doesn't have a birth certificate. But anyway, so so we actually, you know, we don't know how old she is, but she lived to an old, you know, ripe old age. And I honestly think that, like, it makes sense with that research that, you know, if you stay connected to people and you interact with people, you know, you are going to live a longer, healthier, happier life. Like, it's all part of the process of being a human. So we shouldn't underestimate, like, its importance.
Mm. Mm. Yeah, I think that's you know, for now as well, what people are going through in the UK, they need to kind of find a way to interact. Just find a way. Even I know that we can't have the human contact face to face, but use technology. Just
Totally.
interact with people, and even over the phone, speak to your loved ones. You know, because it means
100%. 100%. And, like, you know, this like video calls and social media, we've always seen it as like, oh, we're distancing ourselves from people. Like, social media is actually, you know, tearing people apart, and it's making them distance from each other. But it's quite ironic how actually it's these video calls, it's social media that's actually kept people together. So I've just found, I found it all so fascinating. And also, I just wanted to make a quick little point as well. Like, you doing this is like more profound than you probably realize, because like if you think about when we first met, do you remember the powerlifting competition that you were hosting? So I had actually just got dumped and I was feeling like shit, and my sister was like, do you want to do this competition? And I was like, yeah, stuff it, I'm going to go for it. And doing that really kept my mind focused on something, which is obviously like, you know, what you need, particularly during that sort of time. And off the back of doing that, I then, you know, signed up for other things. I did that photo shoot. I did loads and loads of things. So, and that was just from you, you know, bringing people together. And I think that, you know, people like yourself, and I know a lot of other people who really reach out to people and, you know, really make sure that everyone stays connected. I think you just can't underestimate it. So yeah, I just thought I'd mention that because I don't think you knew that.
No, I didn't. And thank you. That's, you know, that means a lot. The one thing
that really helped me massively.
Yeah.
You won't realize, because obviously it was something that I was going through, but it helped me massively.
No, thank you. I mean, that really does mean a lot. And the one thing I think I found that I enjoy doing is bringing people to one place for positive, for a
Yeah.
positive end result, you know. But
Yeah.
whether it's a party, whether it's a rugby game, a powerlifting meet, a gym class, I enjoy group settings. And I think I've pretty much just realised that now on this live, which is crazy, right? Because I did meditate this morning. I've got quite a clear mind. I've listened to what you've said, and yeah, I think that's probably what I no, it's not probably, it's exactly what I enjoy doing. And it's something I've done my entire life. I like the organisation. And then I like the satisfaction of everyone being together. And, you know, that is, I'd say
that's your thing, Jerry.
that is definitely my thing. It's definitely
that's your thing. It's a great thing to have. And it's like, that's your personality as well. Like, you can't sort of replicate that, you know, as much as people might try. Like, this is something that naturally you have and you enjoy and you do, and that's just really cool. Yeah Love it.
I think I need some time alone with that one later, actually, and I'm going to explore that a little bit further. But let's come back to you. Let's come back to you before I start drifting off and start dwelling on that, because that's hit me a little bit hard, that one.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Was that the first time you thought about that?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool. I'm glad I've given you some food for thought.
Yeah.
Who knows where your mind's going to go and what you're going to create after that then.
There you go. Yeah, indeed. Right. Yeah. No, I'm gonna sit back down again in my brain, and I've got another question for you. Have you been given any like profound or more helpful advice from anyone, or have you taken any stock from? It could be an article or anything that's helped you through this time.
Honestly, I think the biggest thing was reading that bit of research, because I feel like, I guess there was a lot of celebrities like going on and saying this and saying that, and it doesn't struck a chord with me when I see celebrities in their mansion saying like, guys, stay at home. Like, it just doesn't do anything for me. So I've not been reading too much about people's advice. If I'm honest, I guess like the first thing you think of is a celebrity to give that advice. But in general, I think because I've been working on myself, I've been trying to look for that advice in myself. And then when I thought about it myself, that's when I researched and I looked at the studies, and they were all like, you know, obviously popping out in front of me, and I was like, oh my God, like this just totally makes sense. So God, is that going to sound so arrogant if I say myself?
No, not at all.
Like, my own advice has really helped me. And also the support of my husband as well. Like, you know, he's just like not someone that gets phased very easily. I always encourage him to work on himself, but he's like insists he doesn't need it. And sometimes I'm like, oh damn it, I don't think he does need it. It's really irritating. Like, But he was really cool and calm about everything. When I lost my job, I was like really upset about it because I feel like I'd let us down by not being able to, you know, be in the situation we were. And so he was like, don't worry about it. Like, we're fine. Like, we're totally fine. So it was actually his words that kind of made me calm down a lot as well. So yeah, I definitely think need to acknowledge Charles and, you know, the support set. I mean, he's sitting here sending me some money over. So he's like bribing me right now. No, I'm just kidding. He's not here. But yeah, he really did help me out 100%. So that's why, like, yeah, I do feel lucky that Charles is really level-headed, and it's like helped me out, kind of keeping my own self like calm as well. And also, like, I would say, this is going to sound so cheesy, but I just love Jacinta like so much, and everything that she says, I'm like hanging on there like, oh my god, you're just amazing. And so her calmness, her, like, you know, real decisive decision making, it really made me feel calm, and it gave me kind of strength to be resilient. And I feel like I don't know if I've like totally digressed from the question, but I think she's been a real profound person who's made some great speeches throughout this entire time, and who everyone's just, if they didn't like her, they certainly do now, you know, because she's shown herself to be just such a strong leader. And yeah, I'm just in awe of her, to be quite honest. I think it takes a really kind of strong person to make a decision and not go back against it as well, because someone's saying this and a country's doing that. She just, you know, stuck with her guns, and we're in this situation that we are now, which is out of lockdown. So yeah, she's been my biggest inspiration out of all of this, 100%. So yeah, her words, not necessarily anything particular, but her words have really like kept me going. I mean, I think that's going to sound a bit cheesy, 'cause she's the prime minister and stuff, but she really has. Like, I've been watching all of her speeches, and I think she's definitely an inspiration, not just to women, but to everyone.
Yeah.
The country's really stood behind her, whereas I think with Boris Johnson, you know, I don't want to like make too many political comments, but I think with Boris Johnson, he comes across as like speaking down at everyone, like he's not even part of the country. Like, this is what you need to do, like a teacher, you know. Whereas Jacinta, you just feel like she's just one of you, and she's like, you're just like standing behind her going, okay, we'll do whatever you say, you know. So I think that makes a huge impact, and I think that's actually helped everyone stay calm in this situation.
I think
despite everything that's crumbling around us.
I mean, the leadership that has come through from there has been, you know, huge. You know, the whole of the the whole of the world is watching what you guys are doing, and it's been amazing. Well, look, we're going to come into the final close of the interview. Okay.
Cool.
So the last thing will be that one question I did speak to you about, and that is, if you go back in time and you kind of say to yourself, Ayla, you know, I suppose it was 4 weeks for you guys, but for us it's been a bit longer. But if you could give yourself any advice right at the beginning that would have helped you, and it could be very profound, it could be really silly, it's completely down to you. What advice would you give yourself?
I'd need a bit of time to come up with something silly and funny, but in this moment right now, it's nothing profound really, but it's more that everything's just going to be okay. Like everything's going to work out. And I think when you don't know what's going to happen, that unknown is just really is quite scary. And mostly I was fearing for my family, like, because they're all old and, you know, they're in Italy and in Turkey. So I guess I would have liked it if someone could have said, like, honestly, like, your family are going to be okay, just chill out and just start working on yourself now. Like, don't wait a week and get totally stressed out to get to that point where you need to start utilizing all those tools. So yeah, I would just say that everything's going to be okay and not to stress.
Brilliant.
and it's all going to be worth it as well, because everything feels even better at the end of this.
Well, I really, really hope that is the way it's going to it's going to feel over here in the UK as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think working on yourself, I had the same thing. 2 weeks of kind of meltdown. You know, I was still steering my ship, as it were, and I was keeping a brave face for my team and my staff. But at home, I lost big time. So I think I would have given myself very similar advice to you as well.
Yeah.
Very much so.
Is that what you so do you feel like everything's coming out the other end right now? Like what's the kind of vibe in the UK or for you?
In the UK right now, we are kind of just waiting to be told what to do. We're slowly being drip fed that we are allowed to do other things. They're lifting restrictions ever so slightly, so you're allowed to go walking with a friend as long as you socially distance. I think that's pretty much it. Nothing is open really. Only they're talking about a few shops being allowed open, and in a few days' time, I think in the 4th of June or something, we're going to be looking at certain shops opening, non-essentials. And then 4th of July, things like restaurants, gyms, they're going to be looked at to see whether they can open. So at the moment, you know, we don't have a lot of answers. A lot of places are falling by the wayside. There's a lot of independent businesses, especially in the more built up, more expensive areas like central London and stuff, that are just gone, where they just can't keep up with the payments, especially with, you know, landlords from overseas that probably don't really care what happens. So, or just landlords in general. So, you know, it's going to be a tricky time, but I think, like you guys say, like you said earlier about what you guys are doing, keeping communication, try and shop local to boost a bit of the economy, and then hopefully we will have to see, you know, in 2021, this will all be a memory.
Yeah, it'll be like a nightmare, won't it, when we look back at it? But you guys are doing the program, so people are going to be training in their house, right? And you're taking like the equipment to them, and they're going through a training program from home. Is that right?
That's what I'm doing personally, yeah. But yeah, it's gone really well. Really happy with the way that's worked. You know, it's something that I'm going to probably look to develop further as well. But that's probably a conversation for another time, because I'll end up talking for about 2 hours about that.
Yeah, cool. No, it sounds good, and I think it's been really good that the internet has been used like this as well. So if you can imagine, like back then, Spanish flu, they wouldn't have been able to do any of this kind of stuff. So I think in terms of the economy, as much as it has brought the world to its knees, this pandemic, I think that people will recover a lot quicker than probably what we might think. And yeah, I think that this internet has certainly helped with that, for sure. This internet business. God, I sound so old, eh? I don't know what's going on. I think all this gardening has made me turn into this old biddy, but yeah.
Well, look, I really, really appreciate your time today. We're going to come into the close. I can resonate so much with a lot of the things that you've said, especially the exploring your own mind and being able to bring yourself more into the present, so you can react a little bit calmer and make kind of better decisions and strategize what you're going to do. And you know, that really, really, really does help me at the moment. And I think it could help a lot of people if they just kind of if they kind of take a moment to try and learn how to be mindful or to meditate. So one other thing, Ayla, you know, any links and stuff as well. Okay. If there's anything that you want to share with the viewers and listeners, please just send that over, and we're going to put those in the show notes as well. Ayla, obviously, you know, practicing yogi, as well as no doubt you will have another string to your bow fairly soon, because I know what you're like, and you know, you like to turn your hand to a lot of things. So first things first, thank you so much for today. And I'm just going to do a little close for everybody else. So guys,
Oh,
thank you
thanks,
so
Julie.
much for listening today. Thank you. Either listening or viewing, depending on what platform you decided to watch us or listen to us on. If you have enjoyed today's episode, please do share that, use that share button on social media and allow other people to experience what you have. And also give us a cheeky comment if you have enjoyed it. Please keep it kind and keep it clean. Last but not least, if you do feel you have a voice and you want to help me on my gargantuan task to interview 100 people during the COVID-19 lockdown of 2020, please do get in touch via ABC Gym or stick something in the comments below and I'll be in touch. Ayla, thank you so much again.
Cool. Thank you.
See you.
Cheers, Jerry. See ya.